Bert, 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 Bert! Get him, yeah! Ron Bain was right. Ron Bain was right.
I'm feeling spry. Besides this being the shortest podcast I've ever recorded, the shortest intro I've ever recorded, I did want to throw this in. My daughters have been working on a store. Now, it's not a store, a physical store, but yes, we are bringing back t-shirts, we're bringing koozies, neck gaiters, water bottles, you name it, whistles, lanyards. It's going to be crazy. But right off the bat, for right now, you can go to my Instagram or my Facebook, and you can get a link to the new HDP store. So, yeah, there you go. This is the episode that you've been waiting for. Shortest intro, shortest episode ever. Hey, everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. It is the 30th of October. Also happens to be my birthday. And I want to thank everybody for all the well wishes I got today, from text, from DMs, to Facebook, to everybody. I also want to thank my Patreon patrons: Pike Gear, Onyx, Boss Shot Shells, Waltons, Gunner Kennels, Garmin, W Hunting Supply, Deck Drawer Systems, Weatherby Shotguns, Purina Pro Plan, K9 Athlete. Yeah, I want to thank all of you. 65 years old. It's hard to believe. I don't get like, oh my God, I'm almost. I don't care about birthdays, but it's kind of a milestone. It really is. And what really kind of made it a milestone, my wife is in Florida right now visiting one of our daughters. And so I'm here holding the ranch down by myself, and I was upstairs in my office, and I pulled out a photo album. I guess maybe it's because it was my birthday. I just felt a little reminiscent, and I've got some photo albums from back in the 70s. We didn't have. I don't think we had. The only pictures I ever got were, a few that somebody took when we were somewhere. My mom and dad were not, they weren't we weren't the Polaroid family. But I got a few pictures from back in the day. And a couple of them just made me kind of go down memory lane. And when I was looking for that, in the page of this photo album, and I know most of you don't have photo albums because that's an old thing. Everybody else has got them on a phone or on an iPad. But, everything was printed off, and we stuck them in albums. And I fortunately kept all of my hunting licenses, all of them. Now, I probably lost a few of them in the 90s or the 2000s, and I lost a wallet once and lost But, I have got my first Illinois hunting license. I got it right in front of me. 1972. And then it dawned on me, because I'm such a math whiz, that, my God, that's 50 years. 50 years. And I will tell you, in all transparency, I was not hunting with a shotgun in 1972, but I was hunting with a bow and arrow. We used to go with my buddy David's dad, and we would carry our Ben Pearson fiberglass bows and some shitty arrows, and I don't think we ever got anything. Maybe a rabbit once in a while if it would stop running, or we'd see one sitting under a bush. But, God, we would traipse down to, basically, it's not even central Illinois. We used to go down to a town called Buckley. And David's dad, I had some friend from work that had some connections down there. And, Illinois is basically private land. But he used to let us traipse around with him. He'd bring us down there, and we were just, what were we, 14, 15 years old? And we'd carry our bows. Neither one of us owned a shotgun at the time, but I still got that hunting license. I got the 73, the 74, the 75, the 78. What happened to 76? I must have had a bad year. Didn't save it. I've got an 80 and 82. Ooh, those are a couple of bad years for me. That's when I got married the first time, and I was divorced by the 82. That's probably why there's no 1981 in here. But, no, I don't think I've ever missed a hunting season. I'm not saying I hunted a lot every time, but it's really cool to look back on some of that stuff. And I told this story at a talk I was given once about, my start in hunting. And I've always told everybody that it's about the people. The dogs came in secondary to my hunting background. It was always with my friends. And you'll be like, people always say, oh, yeah, I wouldn't hunt if it wasn't for the dogs. I wouldn't hunt if it wasn't for friends, to be honest with you. I wouldn't want to see a life for a year without dogs, but I really truthfully can say out loud that I hunt for friendship. And I told this story at a Ruffed Grouse. It wasn't a banquet, but it was some kind of a gathering put on by the Ruffed Grouse Society or one of the chapters. And I told them about how David and I, we grew up in Chicago, and, the houses, you could look down the roofs and see 40 houses in a row just perfectly in line, little teeny yards, the alleys and the cemeteries and the railroad tracks that's where we did what we called hunting. We had plenty of places to roam. Nobody stopped us. But I remember one day we got in the back of David's dad's camper. He had a Chevy pickup truck. Dave's dad was a bricklayer. He had a 1-ton Chevy pickup truck, and he had a camper for the back of it. And we asked if we could go on the, down there where him and his Uncle Chuck were going to go pheasant and rabbit hunting. And we got in the back of that camper. Of course, no seatbelts because there wasn't any in a camper. I don't think anybody worried about it back in the day. But we got back in that camper, and Dave's dad is driving, and Uncle Chuck's there, and we're horsing around like, young teenagers will do and wrestling and everything. Of course, when you're wrestling in the back of a pickup truck camper, it's wiggling and is wiggling it and wiggling it. And pretty soon that camper stops, or that pickup truck stops. Sliding window opens up from the cab to the camper. He takes his ring and he knocks on the other sliding window, and we open up, and he says, if I have to pull this truck over one more time from you two wrestling, we are turning around and you are never going hunting with us. And we're like, oh shit. And I'll never forget it. It was like yesterday. And when someone's parent yelled at you, you paid attention. But when they were taking you hunting, and this is the first time we got to go with Dave and Dave's dad and Dave's uncle. And we sat down. But what happened was they left their sliding window open, and we kind of closed ours. But now, even through the road noise, we could hear laughing. I mean, just laughing. And, of course, Dave and I are thinking, what the... Of course, at that age, we're like 14 or 15, and we're like, oh, they got to be talking about some. What are they talking about, right? We've never heard. We never heard our dad. Well, we never got to sit in with our dads. It was just not the way it was back in the day. The adults did one thing, the kids went out and played. It was be seen and not heard type of a world back in the day. But there was some belly laughing coming from the cab of that pickup truck. And Dave and I wanted to listen to it. We couldn't figure out what they were laughing about. Of course, we thought it had a little risqueness to it, of course, for some reason. It might have been because we also found some... Anyway, forget about that. We found those in the alley. But we're at that age, and we just never heard adults laughing like that. And we wanted to get up to that window, but we knew if we made that camper shake, James and Agnes was not going to he was not going to just give us a second warning. He would have turned that truck around, he would have brought us home, dropped us off, and him and his brother Chuck would have went hunting. So we get out of that little, these campers all have a little kitchen table. We were going to play some cards or something there, and we snuck out of that table as quiet as we could and moved as slowly as we could. And they have a little bench, right there where the pickup box is, right where the sliding window is. And we slowly open that sliding window because all the time we're getting closer and closer. We're hearing these laughs. And we finally get that window open enough where we can hear the stories. And all it was Jim and Chuck talking about when they were young up in Minnesota and all the hunting expeditions they had, taking shotgun shells from their dad, not telling them, breaking things, not trespassing back in the day, but, just going without permission, going here, going there, bringing their guns to school. And the two of them, just every story made the other one laugh. And they probably told those same stories every time they went in that truck. I'll bet you every time they went for the first time that year, they probably told the same stories and laughed just as hard. And that was really that was kind of the beginning of it. That's when I knew it was about laughing. It was about having a good time. It wasn't about being miserable. It wasn't. Now, I'm saying I've been miserable on a few hunts, but I don't seek out adventure and say I'm going to go up somewhere or I'm going to go chase Himalayan snowcock. And no, I don't do that. I hunt to have an experience with my friends and my dogs that connects me to laughter. Because my hunting days always end in laughter. Whether I get birds or I don't get birds, whether I've got a deer, didn't get a deer. And truth be told, I've only shot 2 deer in my life, 2 caribou, and 2 black bears. So I am not a big game hunter. I don't want to sit in a tree. I don't want to learn a new craft. I don't even own a fishing pole anymore. Now I'll fish if somebody takes me fishing. But hunting, as long as I got someone to go hunting with, whether it's a new person, an old person, it doesn't matter. I will, at the drop of a hat, someone could talk me into taking a walk. Now, I might not want to go 12 miles anymore. Things hurt, things ache, but it's the people that I've met over the years, and that goes right through NAVDA and moving to Michigan and hunting, knocking on doors, meeting people, going to banquets, all that stuff. That's what really makes up, to me, what really makes up hunting. It always in the day, they say when you're young, you got kind of a vengeance and you want to get your bag limit. Well, everybody wants to get their bag limit, even if you're my age. Getting your bag limit one day, it sure feels good to have a heavy bag. But that's never, ever been what it's about. It's always been, well, to quote a very wise man, and it's myself, because I made this up. It's on my website. It's on the Upland Institute website. And I want this literally carved into my headstone someday. And I'm serious. My daughters know it. My wife knows it. My wife never wants to talk about it, but my daughters have this all written down. And this is what I want carved into my headstone. For me, it's always been about the friends and the dogs that we know, the ones that have passed on, and the ones that we have yet to meet. That's what hunting season is to me. That's what 365 days a year is to me. I don't care if I meet a dog in the park, a parking lot, or a grouse cover. Same thing with people. I can't thank you all enough for listening to me all these years. You got a whole bunch more stuff coming up. I got a whole bunch more stuff coming up. Can't talk about yet. And we got a trivia episode coming up. But for right now, I just want to say happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to you whenever your birthday is. And I hope you're having a great season. And if you're not, don't worry. Next season will be great. And the one after that will be great. And the one after that will be great. And then someday, you'll be looking back over 50 years of hunting. And you'll know why I do this show. Love you guys. Love you girls. I love you hunters more.